Okay guys, so in this video let's talk about Spock. What is Spock and how we use it in our project and the advantages of using Spock. Okay, um, so first of all, Spock is an alternative to JUnit 5, or even maybe JUnit 6. I think there is a JUnit 6 right now, but the most popular version is still the JUnit 5, I believe. Okay, so Spock is another tool for creating your tests for your API. Okay, so uh, one thing that is important to say is that you don't need to choose between JUnit or Spock. You can use both in your project. Okay, so I'm gonna show this, but you can. I think it's not so wrong to say Spock is an alternative, but it's just another way to execute your tests. All right. So first of all, again, let me first show my dependencies here. So you need these two dependencies here. Um, I don't think you should worry so much about the versions of the dependencies. I think you can just pick the newest version, okay, the most recent version, that shouldn't be a problem, I think. Uh, Also, you need this plugin here uh, to. This plugin here is um, responsible for how can I say, for making the making your IntelliJ or your API understand that you want to use Groovy. You want Groovy to make part of your tests or something like that. Because if you don't use this plugin, this package here, this directory here, this folder, better saying here, will not be managed by um, by the IntelliJ or by the API. I'm not so sure if I am explaining it correctly, but that's the idea. Okay. Uh, you also want to be able to create the test classes. So this plugin here is also responsible for creating the classes. Okay. Um, I'm gonna show an example here just for learning purposes. So let's say I want to create uh, a test for this class. All right, so uh, I'm gonna choose this option here, and now because because of that plugin, I have this option here, so I can choose the Spock option here to create a class test. It's not responsible for running the tests. The dependencies responsible for running the tests are those two dependencies that I showed before. But the plugin is responsible for creating this option for me and for letting the IntelliJ or the API to know that this folder here also have to be included on the tests coverage. Let's say that on the coverage with the tests. So that's it. Let me show my tests here. So let me show this class. For example, I just created only a few tests. All right. I didn't want to put so much effort having to have a full coverage of my code. All right, I just wanted to learn a little about Spock, and let me say something. I really liked using Spock. I believe in some of my next projects, I'm gonna use Spock again because it's very interesting. This alternative to JUnit 5 is very interesting. So let me explain a little about Spock. So what's the difference about Spock and between Spock and JUnit? Of course, the syntax is very different because here we're using not Java to run the tests, to write the tests, but we are using Groovy. So Groovy is other programming language, and because of that, the syntax is a little different here. But it's not so, in this context here, it's not so different from Java. You can easily understand the syntax here, even if you don't understand um, how the test, how the syntax of the test works. Okay, so but you can understand that here, for example, I'm creating a variable and I'm calling some method here, and here I create this is a test, this is another test. I think this is very easy to understand, so it's not so difficult to use Spock here. Okay, so let me explain just a little about the tests here, and just to give an idea about how it works. So here I have some uh, here it's like I'm creating the mocks. Okay, making a parallel, making a comparison to JUnit. Here I'm creating a mock. I'm injecting a mock. Uh, better saying, I'm creating the mock here, and here I'm just declaring the main class. So I want to test this class. So I am uh, declaring the class here, and here I am injecting the mocks in the class. Okay, very similar, almost I don't want to say equal, I don't want to say that it's the same, but it's very similar to what we do using JUnit. Okay, so we should have the at mock here, we would have something like this, mock, and you probably would have something like this here, inject mocks. Okay, so you would have something like this, but here we don't have this, so we do like that, and this is a mock. And let's explain the first test. Okay, so uh, we in this test I want to find a user by ID. Okay, so the one advantage that you can see with Spock is that I can organize my test in steps. Okay, actually, usually when I'm using JUnit, we don't need to do in that way, but I always type something like this: arrange and act and assert. I always do something like this to organize my test, to to let my mind understand better what I'm doing here. But with Spock, we want to use these specific words to organize our test, and that's how it works. So here I'm defining some behavior for the test. Okay, so here I'm creating a random UUID, and I'm creating a customer here. This method is something that I created for the test. Okay, we have another method here just for the test. And here I'm executing, I'm defining a mock behavior here. How look how interesting this is. So here I'm saying to Spock that when I have this execution here, I want to return this customer. So uh, if we were using JUnit, we would have something like when customer repository dot find by ID dot then return customer. If you use JUnit, you probably understand what I'm saying. Okay, so we would have something like this: when something, then return something. Okay, or then return any or something like that. Here we have this syntax. It's not so complicated when you understand what this is. And here we execute our test. We execute the method that we want to test. Okay, and so here we are making our validations. Okay, so here I'm testing if this customer is not null. I know that this is very very strange because it looks like, it seems like I'm doing nothing here. I'm not doing anything here. It looks like that, but this is actually a validation. Okay, so using JUnit, I would have something like um, a search or assertions. Assert that uh, found customer dot isn't null or something like that. I forgot the name exactly, but it's something like that. And here I would have assert dot assert equals ID and UUID or something like that. But here we have these yeah, this way of asserting things. Okay, it's very more simple, I believe. It can be a little strange at first, but I think you're gonna get used to it. um, so we have other tests here. I believe I might be extending myself already. Maybe the video is getting too big, but just as an example, here in this test, I want to my search for the user should fail. Okay, and I should receive an exception. So I prepare my test here and I execute my test here, and here I expect an error. So that's one way we can do it. And we have other tests. All right, so uh, I believe you can do pretty much uh, the same tests as you can do on JUnit 5. Okay, of course, you would have to use different syntax, different ways of testing things. Okay, but you can see that you can probably do pretty much the same things that you do in JUnit. All right, uh, and just as learning purposes, I just want to show my other class here, um, where I test a real request to an endpoint. Uh, I don't want to test the service, the execution of the service, but I want to test the call to the endpoint. So here, for example, I want to test the customer endpoint, and I'm creating a mock to the service because I don't want to really execute the service. All right. and here I'm injecting the the mock to the to my research class, okay, to the endpoint class. And here I'm just configuring something to be able to execute a request. All right. So let me see an example here. So I here I want to create a customer. So I prepare my test here, and I also am preparing a a a dummy response. This is a we are pretending that we will receive this response. All right. This is like a mock. So we use this response here. So I am explaining to Duke that, to Spock that when I call this service, the service responsible for creating the customer, um, and here I'm saying that I don't really care about what I'm passing by parameters. Well, I don't care about my parameters. In Unit 5 we would have something like mock dot mockito dot any, or just any, something like that, because I don't really care about this context here. And here I just want to return this response because I want to pretend that I got this response. Okay. So here I execute a real call to my endpoint. You can see that I'm executing a post request to this path here. It's the path of the endpoint. Okay. And I'm passing a JSON to this endpoint because that's that's what the endpoint expects. All right, so I'm passing some value here, and I'm returning the response. So the response, of course, the data of the response, it will be the data that I configured here to my mock. But one thing that I want to validate here, if it is if I received the correct status. So I expect to receive the status created, and the status of number 200 and 201. So I'm validating it here, and also I'm validating if the data received as response is the same data that I configured here. Okay, so that's a cool way to test your endpoints. Of course, that the tests can be very improved here. These tests here are very simple. I didn't put so much effort here. I just wanted to make it work. Okay, so uh, so to finish this video, I just want to explain what is the advantage of using um, Spock here. Of course, you can say that it's just an alternative, but there are some advantages, and one of them, um, maybe the main reason. I don't know if it's the main reason, but one thing here is that you can let your tests organized with those reserved words here, and use you can put some context to your tests, instead some explanation, some description to your tests. All right, so instead of being limited by the name of the tests. Okay, because if you're using JUnit 5, you have to give a name to the method, and you don't want to to put a name so big to the method, because this is very strange. But here with using Spock, you don't need to be limited by that. You can put a big message here to explain what your test does. Okay, you also can explain step by step what your test does, because you can add some comments here. So giving some prepared data, I would execute service to create customer, and I want to customer should be created without errors. Okay, so you can I think I typed something wrong here, but okay. So you can describe the steps of your test. Okay, this is very cool, because um, in JUnit 5 we you don't have that, and the tests can be a little confusing sometimes, especially when you have much more complex tests than this. So this test is very simple, you can understand, but many times actually you have much more complex tests, and having a description for your test and for each of the steps can be very helpful. And another thing is um, this this these descriptions can be used by other applications, uh, other programs specialized in testing. So these descriptions uh, can be received by some testing platforms to have other useful uh, useful insights, for example, or useful descriptions, more descriptions, more information. But I'm not gonna talk about this, because I that's not the point here. But it's one other way to tell an advantage about using Spock. So Spock is very cool. It can be very confusing at first, but it's not hard to use Spock. So I'm definitely going to use Spock in some of my next projects. And another thing is, you don't need to choose between Spock and JUnit. You can have two folders here. One with JUnit, so I have my basic test here created by the created in the start of the application, in the generation of the API. And you also can have at the same time the tests with Spock. And of course, you're gonna have your coverage analysis. So I also added the Jacoku plugin here, and of course when you execute the tests, it will also consider your Spock tests as a coverage. So you can generate the analysis here, and open in your browser. So yeah, of course, yeah, I don't have my coverage here, because I this project, I didn't run the tests yet, but let me try to generate the test here. Okay, guys, so I was having a little problem here when I was executing the test command to execute the tests and to show the code coverage, I was having a little problem because my system wasn't executing the tests with the Groovy classes. All right, so these classes are not Java classes, are Groovy classes, and for some reason the 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 plugin wasn't executing the tests. Okay, so just only the Java classes. All right, so uh, what was my solution here was to add this plugin here, uh, where the important part here is that we make sure that this line here is added to this configuration, because when we add this line here, uh, what I understood about what is happening here with my situation is that uh, when we build the application, the classes here they turn into dot class into this type of file. All right, before that we would have had uh, the dot groovy classes. I think that's what was happening with me before, but for some reason this has changed, and I don't really know why. But now the spec classes, I have to consider them as a dot class files. So when we apply this configuration, now the tests uh, are executed correctly. Okay, so if you run the tests, you can see that we have some coverage here. So you can see that I covered my service classes, and let me see if I can find other things here. Um, we have our two service classes, and let me see if I can find the resource class. Yeah, here. Okay, so we tested this method. Okay, so that's it. So now you can see that you can use both ways of testing, both Java and Groovy. So that's it for now. I think the video is already too big, so see you on the next video.